Hey guys, what's up? You're watching Up and Adam. My name's Adam Noel. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the guy bringing you guys all the weekly interviews and recaps from your favorite celebrities and pop culture influencers. Today's no different. Today we're back to talk to Real Housewives of Dallas star Dr. Tiffany Moon. I'm so excited for this conversation. Before we jump in, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell because, well, you don't want to miss anything we have coming up. Now with that, let's jump right in.
It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, Dr. Tiffany Moon, and thank you so much for joining us. I like to say your full name because I feel like saying any less than that is completely disrespectful, but how are you today?
I'm good, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Like I told you earlier, I've been looking forward to this interview for so long. And for those who watch my channel and my show who might be living under a rock, not being disrespectful, but can you at least give us a little bit of a brief backstory as to who you are and where we might have seen you?
Yeah, I immigrated here from China when I was 6 years old. So I say that I'm from New York, but really I'm from Beijing. I did a lot of school when I was young and not much else. I graduated from medical school at the age of 23, went straight into residency, got married, had twins, and decided to do this little thing called Real Housewives of Dallas.
Which is insane because I feel like you've been so busy and I couldn't even imagine adding any more onto the plate that you already have, but you're continuously, it's like you don't even have a plate anymore. You have a buffet.
Yes, I have a lot of plates spinning in the air and I'm trying not to let them fall and shatter. It's a lot, but I enjoy being busy. I enjoy meeting new people and achieving goals. So I guess you could just say that I'm a doer.
A doer. Okay, I like that. And I told you a little bit before we jumped on here that I actually heard about you for the first time before you even appeared on the show through Mamadi. I did an interview with her and she was hilarious. Like when she says, I don't give a rip, she's not kidding. And she's like, Adam, I have to tell you, we have this new woman coming on and she is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to any of the Housewives franchises. I was like, Mama D, tell me more. She's like, well, I can't give you too much, but what I can say is I think that it's partially me who's responsible for bringing on the greatest thing to Real Housewives. And I was like, Mama D, you're leaving me with a cliffhanger. She's like, I know. And then finally we saw you on the show and I was like, Mama D, you did not disappoint. Was she partially responsible for getting you to join the Real Housewives?
Yes, she is. I met Mama D before I met Deandra because she is a very active contributor to the hospital in which I work. And she also has all of her medical care there. So I met her through the hospital, through my work. And we took a liking to each other immediately. And she was like, you got to meet my daughter, Deandra. Y'all would get along. She's sharp and witty and all this stuff. So then I started hanging out with Deandra. And we just hit it off. Like Mama D said, Mama D is hardly ever wrong. And she starts all her sentences with, I'm almost 80 years old and I'll tell you what. And you're like, okay, I better listen.
I could see that. I would love to meet her in person. She seems like she's hilarious and definitely knows what she's talking about. So when she came to you with this idea of being a part of the Real Housewives of Dallas, like you just said, you have many plates, you're so busy. Did it take a little bit of persuasion?
Yeah, Mama D was basically like, you're going to do it. And then Deandra was like, it'll be fun. We take lots of trips. You'll make new friends. And, I don't know. I think she sold me a false bill of goods.
Well, at least we got to meet you for the first time on the show. So she did something right. I have to say that. Now, you obviously didn't know what you were getting yourself into because this whole reality TV world, you might have an idea as to what it's like or what it may be like filming, but you don't know until you're immersed into it. So if you don't mind me asking, what was your experience like filming the show?
I mean, filming, it's really like you just do things and act yourself and have fun with your friends or have arguments with other cast members, and they just film it. It's like you forget for a second that there's a sound guy, a lighting guy, and a camera next to you, because after you do it for so long, they just sort of fade into the background and you just focus on the conversation that you're having at the time. So it really wasn't that invasive. The first few weeks it was pretty invasive, but then after that, I just sort of didn't even notice them there anymore.
Wow. And I didn't even think I was going to ask you this, but in your opinion, do you think it was a little bit more chaotic actually filming the show? Or a lot of people who are on reality TV, they've said it's not as hard filming as it is rewatching it back a few months later and then having to engage on social media and then hear your co-stars' opinions. Like, that's when it gets chaotic. But for you, what's your opinion?
Well, filming was difficult for me because I was full-time working during a pandemic as an anesthesiologist. And so I would basically be in the OR from like 7 to 5 p.m. And then we'd have an event from 7 until, whatever time. And I would always set an alarm to leave at 9:30 or 10 because I was like, you guys, I have to wake up at 6 next morning and be in the OR. So filming was hard because of the schedule. It was also hard whenever we had disagreements between the cast members. And then it starts to show, and you almost have a little PTSD because in normal life, you may have a disagreement with a friend, right? And then you work it out or don't. But then it doesn't get shown a few months later for everyone to see. And you're like, gosh, that was not my best light. I shouldn't have said that. We all have things that in the heat of the moment we say, and then you watch yourself back and you're like, oh, that's so cringy. I shouldn't have done that. Why does my voice sound like that? It's so annoying. And then people comment on everything you do. You're either not talking enough or you're talking too much. You're either, have too much makeup on or not enough makeup on. Everyone has an opinion about every single thing about yourself, and they're just dissecting you to pieces. And of course, the first couple of weeks, I read all the comments, read all the things, and it just sort of tears you down as a human being because you're like, wow, people really hate me. Wow.
Everyone's a critic.
Yes, everyone has an opinion and they are not afraid to voice it on social media.
Well, I'm not going to pick in too much about the Real Housewives, but I do have one more question about it. If you had to, looking back on your experience filming the show, if you had to give us one pro and maybe one con off the top of your head, do you have any?
The pro I will say is that I really found out a lot about myself during the show, because when you're doing these interviews and they ask you these questions, like, what are your goals in life? Why did you do that? Why do you say that you had a lonely childhood? It's like therapy, kind of, when you're having these interviews with the producers. And I was like, God, what are my goals in life? What am I doing sitting here? Like, what do I wish for the future? How do I feel as a working doctor during this pandemic? So I learned a lot about myself. And those were all things that if, I hadn't been doing that interview, I don't think I would have really approached those questions. The worst part is probably having this feeling of not being accepted or not feeling welcome or liked by some people. It's a feeling that I felt before. It's a feeling that I felt many times in grade school because I was a dork. I barely spoke English. I didn't have friends. And it all came flooding back. Like, oh my gosh, I feel like a 6-year-old in first grade again when people didn't like me, didn't give me a chance. And it was a bad feeling.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, moving forward, that's terrible. Moving forward, how would you say, obviously you can't go back and rewrite history. You've done the show at this point. And I can't even believe, actually, I have to chime in on this really quick. You thinking about your goals really makes me want to think about my goals, because I feel like you've accomplished more in your 20s before you even got to your 30s than most people do in their whole life. So if anyone needs to reassess their goals, maybe it's us watching and also chiming in on this conversation. But now, like I said, you can't rewrite history. So how would you say this whole experience has changed the trajectory of your life, if at all?
I don't think, oh, sorry. I don't really think that this experience has changed the trajectory of my life. I think my life was like, you know, when you are 10 and people are like, what do you want to be? What do you want to, what's your 10-year plan? What's your 20-year plan? I basically followed that recipe. You know what I mean? And then this thing was like a little detour, let's say detour from the path. So good, go to school, get married, have children, little detour, back on the line, work, do charity events, hang out with my kids, hang out with my husband, travel a little bit, go back to work. You know, it was just a little detour from my path in life.
Okay, that's fair. And you know, you briefly touched on this at the beginning of this interview, and you talked about some of the challenges you faced. I just wanted to see if you could share a little bit more about your culture and some of the challenges that you faced being Asian American, because like you said, in grade school, it made you feel a certain way when people were picking on you. And you also introduced a lot of the viewers to the whole concept of a tiger mom, which I knew nothing about. And then watching, this is why it's so important to have diversity on these shows, because we learn new things, and it's not just a bunch of the same women, you know, having conflict and resolution. We're getting culture. So for me, it was exciting to watch you, but can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, culture is so important to me because I only came to the United States when I was 6 years old. And then my parents raised me in a very classic, traditional Chinese way. And what I mean by that is they pressured me to have good grades. I didn't really play any sports or instruments. And the focus was really on education. And I think that's the case for a lot of first generation immigrants, because they gave up their whole lives to move to another country where they probably didn't know the language and, you know, had to start from scratch. And I think because of that hardship, they really pushed their kids to excel in order to sort of make their sacrifice worth it. And so I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted their sacrifice to be worth it. So I wanted to become a doctor and be successful and say, you know, look, mom and dad, I did it. Like, are you proud? So I think that's where the tiger mom in me comes in, because I worked so hard. And when I look at my children, I'm just like, God, they have no idea what a tough life is like. They get chauffeured to school every day in an SUV. I rode the yellow school bus to school and got picked on and spit wads thrown in my hair. They go to a school that's very inclusive. Everyone is nice. They have cultural events and celebrate each other through sharing of food, like for different cultures. And it's just so nice. And I'm like, gosh, is it wrong to be jealous of your children? I wish that I had that childhood. So I always tell them, you are so privileged. You are so privileged. You have all these toys, all these things. So your job is to study hard and to be a good person, to be kind, to help other people, and to study hard, because you owe it to me, because you have so much privilege in life.
So you have a little bit of a tiger mom in yourself.
I mean, my mom was a tiger mom. I'm a tiger mom. I feel it only that I should honor my mom by passing on this tradition.
Fair. Okay. And, you know, I'm curious, you have siblings, correct? One. Okay. So you have a sibling. Do you both feel the same responsibility to your parents? I mean, or is this just you?
I have one brother. He's 11 years younger than me. So basically we never grew up in the same household, because I moved out for college when I was 15 and he was a baby. I don't think that my parents treat us the same. They will deny this accusation, but I think they were way more lenient on him. I don't know if it's because, you know, they were a decade older as parents and they were just more lax, or because he's a boy, or I don't know. But he got away with doing things like he got to have sleepovers. I never got to go to a sleepover. His curfew when he was a teenager was 1 or 2 a.m. Mine was 10 p.m. I had to be home by 10 p.m. Sometimes my dad would go to sleep early and he set this alarm clock for 10 p.m. And he's like, when you come in the house, turn off this alarm clock. and then I'll keep sleeping. And if the alarm clock goes off, you're grounded for a month.
Oh, wow.
I had a tiger dad in addition to a tiger mom. So I had double the pressure and, need to please two tiger parents. At least my kids have me, tiger mom, but whatever the opposite of tiger mom is, that's my husband. I call him panda dad because he's so nice and lets them have snacks before dinner, watches TV, all that stuff. So I say he's a panda dad.
It's like opposites. I think that's funny. Balance is good sometimes, right? But, I also wanted to ask you, because we've seen on different shows and just, if anyone is trying to explore different cultures, we've seen where sometimes families will come over to different countries where they feel like they, can build a better life. And then when they get older, they're really relying on their children to take care of them. They're sometimes like, you owe that to me. You need to financially step up. I did this for you. I gave you a better life. Did you ever feel like you had that pressure? We saw a little bit of it on the show, but it wasn't really, right?
Yeah, no, I feel an immense pressure to pay my parents back for their sacrifice that they made in bringing me to America in order for me to have better opportunities. So when I first started working, my mom had been wanting a new car. She was driving this old car with 100,000 miles on it that was breaking down all the time. So I surprised her on her birthday with a brand new Porsche, which she had always said was her dream car. I shower my parents with gifts, trips, all of those things, because I feel like I'm paying them back. I feel like I'm in debt and I want to pay those debts back to them. And certainly when they get older, we will be moving them into my house, into a very nice wing of my house. And either I or a hired caregiver or my husband will help to take care of them, because they have very clearly said to me, don't you dare put us in a nursing home. And I was like, no, I would never.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I'll stop asking those questions, but I thank you. This is so informative, and I feel like I could talk to you about this all day. I do have so many questions, but we're on limited time. Another question that I have for you is, you've been so successful. You have multiple businesses, and there are so many of us out here watching you just saying, wow, how does she do it? What advice could you give? Because a lot of us don't have tiger moms. We don't have those parents who are pushing us. Sometimes, we grow up with very relaxed parents who are like, gosh, I can't wait till you're 18 and you get out of this house. I don't care what you do, just make it through to 18 and get out. Some of us have that. So for those watching, what advice would you give in order to be successful and have even an ounce of what you have and what you've accomplished?
You're so sweet. Well, first of all, I would love to be your tiger mom. Please inquire within. I would like your SAT scores and your GPA. As far as being an entrepreneur and starting these new businesses, like my aromasthesia candle line and my private wine label, people have great ideas. But what I always say is, ideas are cheap, execution is expensive. If you have a wonderful idea, that's fine. And it may indeed be a wonderful idea. But if you don't line up, how am I going to get my wax? How am I going to get my essential oils? Who's going to blend them? Oh, I need a box. Oh, shipping's kind of difficult because candles break. You have to line up all those aspects of your business before you launch. Because if you launch and things aren't right and your customers aren't happy, already you've lost your business, because people, it really matters what people say in different forums or on social media. And you have to sort of put the steps together before you just leap. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I feel like this is something too that they should be teaching also in high school, grade school, like being an entrepreneur, especially because so many people have great ideas and don't know how to execute them. I know you can take classes in college, but I feel like this should be part of the curriculum when it comes to middle school and high school a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. This should be part of the curriculum for middle school and high school. When I was in school, they never taught us anything about business. And I was taking, calculus and AP English. So I never took any business classes either. But there should be a basic class, I think, like called how to adult. Because when you turn 18, you are an adult, you can vote, you can have many rights. And half these people don't know how to pay a credit card bill or understand what an APR is. And then if you keep a balance on your credit card, that you're paying 15% interest and all this stuff, like how to open an IRA. And this is all finance stuff, but I also think it should spill over to, if you have an idea, how to execute that idea, all these sorts of like basic adult things. Maybe I should teach a class online.
I think you could. Definitely. I don't know if you want to add another plate to your line of plates, but maybe in the future. And, just to kind of move forward in this conversation too, I did want to ask you, is there anything that you feel like we don't know about you that maybe you wish would have played out on the show, or just maybe a fun fact?
I'm not that fun. I wouldn't describe myself as fun, but I would describe myself as loyal. And like, if you ask me to do something, basically you can consider it done. Like, I don't drop the ball. I do what I say. I mean what I say. And I'm a very loyal person. I think the thing about the show that bothered me a little bit was that I could never show my work, which is primarily being an anesthesiologist and a researcher and a teacher and mentor to my medical students and residents whom I love. I couldn't show that. Also, I think sometimes when my walls come down, I can be a little bit silly or even funny. And I feel like because I had my guard up, I wasn't able to show that side of myself. So I came across as maybe a little cold or not friendly. And that's not the case at all, if you ask anyone who knows me. But when I watched it back, I was like, I don't know, I feel like I could have been friendlier.
I didn't feel that way, but I, like you said, everyone is kind of a critic when they're watching these shows. They either love you, hate you, or love to hate you, love to hate watch. It's the strangest thing ever, Bravo fandom or fandom of any show, but I get what you're saying. All right. Well, I do know that your time is extremely valuable. So I just have one more question for you before I let you go. And
it has to be a fun question.
I like to keep it positive.
Let's have fun.
I like to keep it positive. My question for you is, what are we looking forward to most when it comes to your future? Like, what are you most excited about? And then also, probably, would you ever consider joining a reality TV show again? I know that's two questions, but I tried to lump them.
I have gone back to the life that I had before being on the show, which is working, spending time with my husband and my children, working on my products, my necklace, my candles, my wine, trying to spend a little bit more time being creative. And that's really about it. In terms of being on another reality TV show, I always say never. Right now, I think I don't have any active plans, or no one's, asking me. People say, you should do Married to Medicine. And I was like, maybe no. I would consider it in the future if the right opportunity arose. But currently, I have no plans to be back on your TV screen anytime soon.
Well, that's a shame. That's a shame, because we really have grown to love you in just one season, and not a lot of people can pull that off. But again, Dr. Tiffany Moon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. And I hope in the future, if we have anything exciting coming up, which you already do, like I said, you have a ton of plates. If you have anything coming up, I would love to have you come back, because I know everyone's going to enjoy this interview and just love seeing you on our show. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, you are so sweet. Thank you for having me, Adam.
Of course. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that was our great conversation with Dr. Tiffany Moon. And wow, I love this woman. I hope that we get to see her back on our screens. She's amazing. And if I even had 1/10 of the work ethic that she had, I mean, how inspiring and incredible. I just can't wait to see what she does next. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. On your way out, please drop a comment. Give me your thoughts, because I know you have them. And also, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.